And the Moche weren't alone. For thousands of years, Latin America had been dominated by a series of ancient civilizations, including the Inca, the Olmecs, and the Maya. And they had all created terrifying images of death. Skulls, flayed bodies, and bound captives. Archaeologists had long wondered why this was. The Moche discovery finally confirmed their suspicions. In all these civilizations, sacrifice had been a way of life, and artists had celebrated these grotesque acts by creating images of them. But there was one civilization that was doing all of this on a simply colossal scale. They were the people who ruled here in Mexico City 500 years ago, the Aztecs. And these are their descendants. Today, they're here to see a modern-day blood ritual, a bullfight. Here in the stadium, the deaths of some half a dozen bulls will be watched by a huge crowd. Over the next few hours, 40,000 people will witness and enjoy this killing. What if the situation were reversed? What if all of us here were lined up to be sacrificial victims over 4 days, one by one? Well, that's what happened here about 500 years ago. It's almost impossible for us to comprehend the scale of such bloodletting. But Aztec historians record that in 1487, at the Great Pyramid of Tenochtitlan, executioners sacrificed 4 lines of prisoners, each 2 miles long. Victims were forced to climb to their deaths up the pyramid's 114 steep steps. And at the top, 2 killing rooms. Here they were met by priests wearing masks made of human skulls and wielding sacrificial knives. While still alive, the victims had their hearts hacked from their chests. Their heads were then removed and placed on this stone rack. It was killing on a truly industrial scale. At least 40,000 deaths over 4 days. But that's not all, because the Aztecs then meticulously documented this slaughter with their art. Images like the giant statue of Coatlicue, with her necklace of hands, hearts, and skulls. And Mictlanteucli, the god of sacrifice, with his flayed body. And the Wall of Skulls itself. Here's an entire society that wanted to record the horrific slaughter it was perpetrating. The question you keep coming back to with the Aztecs is why? Why the killing on such a horrific scale? And more importantly for our story, why would you want to fill your world with images of this wholesale human butchery, as if you were proud of what you were doing? A clue to the answer lies on one of the Aztecs' most sacred objects. 3.5 meters across, it's the Stone of the Sun. To the Aztecs, the sun god was the giver of life. But this was a gift that didn't come cheap. And the Sunstone reveals why. At its center is the sun god. And in his outstretched hands, he's got two objects. They're human hearts. And in his mouth, he has a knife. This is one vast sacrificial altar. The sun god created the earth by sacrificing his own blood. This meant that people were forever in his debt, and now they must repay him with the most precious commodity that they had, their own lives. If the debt wasn't repaid, then the sun would go out, the crops would fail, and all life would perish. By constantly reminding people of the debt they owed, images like these instilled loyalty and obedience to the state. The Aztec leaders were using art to bolster the whole structure of their civilization. Aztec society was based on a rigid hierarchical structure, and sacrifice was carefully integrated into each tier. At the bottom were 500,000 law-abiding citizens. This was the audience for the ritual. Above them was the elite warrior class. These were the people who fought neighboring states to capture victims for ritual sacrifice. Then came the priesthood, who turned killing into a form of gruesome theatre. And at the very top, the Aztec court and its king reigned supreme, safe in the knowledge that no one dared challenge them. So the winners in this orgy of death imagery were the powerful elite who stood at the top of Aztec society. Perhaps the most successful regime of terror the world had ever seen. Through this art, they gained a powerful grip over the hearts and minds of their people. And that wasn't just because these images made people fearful of being killed. The psychologists believed they were having another, even more powerful effect on the minds of the Aztec population, driving them towards the values of the state.
If you were an Aztec, you could sit there and say, this is brutal, what the hell is going on? And maybe some of them did that, but I think the vast majority would be better psychologically served by identifying with the powers that are dispensing death and feeling that, hey, we're on the side that has control over death.
Professors Solomon and Greenberg wondered if thinking about death would manipulate the